Welcome back, guys. It's Hybrid Spectre. This is going to be part 2 of the Forsaken Prince. Gotta stretch for a second. Alright. Part 2 of the Forsaken Prince. We're going to be reading from Kings on to the end. Kings. When at last they drag him before the Kell, he has already been transformed by weeks of abuse, weeks of beatings, and forced runs in animal pen conditions, into a happy man. The mighty Kell of Kings tells him clearly, but not concisely, what it thinks of him. Prince Aldrin of a ruined house, lesser of two siblings, bested by Skolas, blinded by Varix less than Dreg, squanderer of fleets, last of the awoken nobility, last of his kind. When Aldrin looks up at him, he does not even need to speak the truth. The Kell of Kings has named Aldrin, and in doing so, it has named itself. The broken ruler of a broken house, the last Kell. You can do what I cannot, the Kell tells Aldrin. You broken, beaten thing. You have no pride. So you will lose nothing when you give the word that must be given. It is twilight for the fallen, and we must lay our banners down. And to the groaned and growled protests of its court, the Kell of Kings kneels to Aldrin. I bow to thee, it says, for in thy downfall and disgrace thou bearest the weakest we cannot. Thou shalt tell the Elixni to tear off their banners. Thou shalt tell them we must all surrender to each other. We must give up our rivalries, or we will not survive. Wilt thou do this for one dying people, prince or another? He will do it. He will gain soldiers and ships and resources to begin the search. He found them. He himself, by risking everything and surviving, as he always does. He feels her in his heart. She is still out there. She needs him more than ever. In the pit of his suffering, her voice came clearly to him, like the way she once appeared to him while he was being beaten to a pulp in a zero-G brawl. She is out there waiting for him, and everything will be all right. He will be there for her. It will be all right. Fnatic, Part 1. She's been silent too long. The whole solar system groans with the bruises of war. Aldrin lives in constant suffering, a numb, scowling pain that drives him to ether and worse distractions. He has never felt the light this strong. He has never known pain so deep. How many centuries with his sister, and how quickly he's disintegrated without her. Why won't she speak to him? The reef burns around him. Shattered asteroids and cracked habitats spill bright flakes of debris. There is nothing quite so stark and brilliant as sunlit wreckage in vacuum. The reef is huge but dense too. Its structures and people gathered in tight clusters against the vastness of space. Oryx and the Red Legion ripped great holes in the reef. Oh, if only Aldrin had told Petra that Traug's broken legion was a Trojan horse. But Aldrin has nothing to give to a regent who surrenders her people to the Traveler. She has always wanted Mara's approval. Little Petra always wanted to ingratiate herself, but she's never understood what Mara respects. She's never been willing to take the hard road to Mara's trust. That's why Mara doesn't speak to Petra. But Mara has not been speaking to Aldrin either. He kicks off the wrecked hull of the Corvette. He and the Kings have been raiding the asteroid belt, knocking out shipping headed for Earth, trying to further destabilize the reef. Aldrin has killed his own subjects, and at first that left him wretched with guilt, curled up in the hard cell where he sleeps. But didn't Mara lead thousands of her subjects to their deaths for their still enigmatic greater good? How is this any different? She has always intended her people for the altar. The Awoken are pawns in her design. It's up to Aldrin to set that design back on track. Mara, he shouts him up into the starlight. He has come too far to beg now. He's done too much. He demands her answer. I'm not angry. I forgive you for sacrificing yourself to save them. But you must answer me now. Am I on the right path? Am I nearer to finding you? He has the House of Kings as allies. His raids on the reef have forced Petra to pull back, consolidate, focus on protecting her citizens instead of collaborating with the Guardians. But is he any closer to Mara? Can he trust himself to do this? He always wanted to surprise Mara, to make her recalculate her plans. But it would help him so much to know that she foresaw a little of this, to be certain he's headed the right way. Mara, he cries, blinking against the persistent soreness in his right eye. Sister, have you forsaken me? Something answers him. Fnatic, Part 2. Just a whisper, just a brush of reassurance, just a quaver. Aldrin, my rescuer. He follows the voice. The violence of his thruster bruises his body. Down by the tumbling corvette to the harnessed asteroid below, where shattered servitors and the wreckage of the Shanks mark the site of a losing battle. Guardians ambushing a fallen party. His suit's chemoceptors detect a trace of ether. He follows it in. And there it is, a fallen Archon crumbled in the dust. Ether hisses through the entry and exit wounds, cauterized by brutal solar flames. The mark of the golden gun. Aldrin hisses in disgust as he traces Guardian's footprints in the dust. They must have sprinted off together in a rush, no doubt to farm some other site where skiffs were coming down with mining parties. He tri-ages the Archon's wounds. Mortal. The victim is shaking now, trembling under Aldrin's hands. He wants so badly to do something, anything to ease the poor soldier's passing. To have the power some say his sister had, to save just by proximity. Does he wish it? Does he wish to save this poor thing? He does. His eyes burn with sympathetic tears as he works to bind the Archon's wounds. His hands are quick and gentle, and he weeps with the strength of his hatred for the Guardians that did this. As tears stain the Archon's wounds, the ether roiling through Aldrin's fingers slowly grows heavier, darker, more noxious. But he does not notice. Finally, he leans back to smear his knuckles across his eyes, sore. They're always sore. Under the unmarked helmet, 4 dead eyes open in wonder. The Archon croaks a word, a broken leftover of a dying hallucination calling out to whoever he wanted to see welcoming him into the afterlife. Dad? The Severance. He has come to the realization that it no longer matters if he doesn't know what to do or if he's doing the right thing. What matters is that he wants. If he wants to find Mara and save her, he wants to do the right thing fiercely enough. If his intentions are good and powerful, he will find the way. He just has to believe in himself. No more paralyzing analysis, no more painful regrets. He has to go forward without doubt. The Awoken are a beautiful creation. He must keep them safe. Secrets are safe. Sister, he asked the wall of his quarters. Lately, in between bouts of euphoria, he's been sleeping too long. Sometimes it takes him an hour to get to his feet, and another hour to make himself don his armor. Wasn't living easy once? Couldn't he do things just by wanting to do them? The spark has gone out of him, the spark of the possibility of Mara's trust. He needs it back. Come home, the wall tells him. It's time to come home and take your crown. He leaps to his feet. Yes! He wants something again. Wants more than to lie here humbly. He wants to show his face to his woken people. He wants the fanfare played at his welcome. He wants to make a speech accepting the kingship. He wants to terrify and stir his people with the ferocity of his need to save Mara. The Awoken have survived so much. He will tell them that they do not need to survive anymore, that the end is coming, the end of the long plan. He goes to the Ketch's bridge. What news from the reef? He barks. A shank cast the sound into his ears. Petra's voice. Petra who dares to try and replace what does not need replacing. Cade. Cade, the targets are in the crater now. My fire teams are in blocking position. Whoever you've got, call them in. Guardians. Petra and the Guardians working together. Did Mara ever want this? Aldrin thinks not. It is possible that he's too late, that the Awoken are no longer awoken? Lulled by the absence of his sister into the traveler's trance. Set a course for the Vestian outpost, he snaps, rubbing at his eyes. Prepare skiffs for a camouflage insertion. We will put an end to Petra. What are you doing? A captain of the Kings growls in his ear. The House of Kings is very satisfied with the state of the Awoken Demency. And if we interfere, we will certainly attract Guardians. Insubordination. She would have never tolerated this. Ah, Aldrin says, careful to keep his voice light. Yes, of course. The itch in his eyes resumes, and he discovers that he has a new desire. A new thing he fiercely wants. Fickrul. The Archon he saved is named Fickrul, and he worships Aldrin like a father and a god. Aldrin understands now what brought them together. They each see a future for their broken people, a future that cannot be obtained by looking back. Fickrul tells Aldrin how the Fallen have been crippled by their dependence on machines, how they have clung to tradition instead of hurling themselves into the abyss, seeking rebirth through extinction into a new species. I feel the same, Aldrin tells Fickrul, whittling a tiny model galliot from an ingot of steel. We say we exist on the thin line between dark and light, Fickrul, but my people have always been easily led astray. What future do you see for Awoken? Fickrul asks him. What future? After he finds and saves Mara, he realizes that he doesn't care. He spent so many centuries stalking the perimeter of Awoken society, fighting off challengers, spying, sneaking, doing Mara's dirty work. Nothing has value except in its relation to Mara's plots. Not even himself. They can die for all I care, he says with a viciousness he never expected of himself. Didn't he want to save his people? No. Mara was willing to destroy them for her purposes. The Awoken have no value at all except in service of her design. If some part of them survives, it will be the worthy part. Does he wish for Awoken extinction? Is that what he truly wishes? We have work to do, he tells Fickrul. The House of Kings has become, inconvenient to my plans. I wish to, he wags his knife, divest. Fickrul looks up sharply from his own knives. Dark ether seethes like mist around his face. It is time? We show them the future now? Docking. Honorless at the end, gasps the former Kell of Kings. Faithless and false. Your sister's will kept us from the great machine, Aldrin sobbed. She challenged the wolves by right of noble lineage, but you skulk in shadow and filth. You hide behind your bruises like a dreg. Funny you should mention that, Aldrin sneers. He knows he's sneering, but this worthless thing deserves it. What did the Kell of Kings ever want? To go backward. More servitors, more machines, more of the past. Aldrin sees now that extinction is only the beginning, that the bones of what you become can act more powerfully than the flesh of what you leave behind. Fickrul. Shattered servitors in a dead fallen loom and ether-frosted mounds behind Fickrul. He comes forward silently, hulking, horrific, his headdress gritting out the firelight that blocks the shadow and smoke. He carries 2 shock daggers. We are the last of our kinds, Aldrin tells the Kell. My sister is gone. So is the idea of your great machine. The difference between us, he leans in to hiss, my sister's coming back. In 4 swift cuts, the Archon of the Scorned Barons docks the Kell of Kings. Uldren tears the House of Kings sigil hanging from the new Dreg's belt and holds it high for all to see. The kings are dead. Long live the king, comes Fickrul's revering growl. Petra. After that, Uldren and Fickrul part ways for a time. Fickrul goes to do his bloody work, reshaping fallen society the way a hammer reshapes a spider, and drawing certain useful elements to him. Uldren resumes his lonely search for Mara. He remembers a time long ago scouting with the Crows, scouting with a young corsair who wanted nothing more than to be defined by her wrath. Perhaps Petra can be saved too. He finds her in Thieves' Landing. What is she doing here? Mara would never stoop to this, trading information with a criminal in the lowest places of. So a few of us remain, he tells her. And in that moment, feeling the shame in her, he knows she has gone too far. She cannot be saved. That night, he weeps for Petra. Mara comes to him in the darkness. She has heard his sorrows. He looks up in wonder, his sister sending her will and wisdom to watch over him. He knows then that it will be all right. Free, Part 1. Admit it. Admit it that you trapped my sister in the Dreaming City. I did not, Ilyn says. She is not trapped, Uldren. She is dead. Uldren knows the truth now, and he wants things to be right. And he wants it so fiercely that he knows nothing he does in pursuit of this want can be wrong. Witch lies, he spits, venomous. She is alive. Ilyn measures him in silence for a while. Then, we knew you would come, she tells him, with a quiet, calm defiance. You're lost, Uldren. You knew I'd come, but you never searched for me? My sister would take your eyes for that. Your sister needs nothing from us now, Uldren. Not even you. The rage is almost enough to make him kill her, but he knows Mara wouldn't approve. She is with him now. She is substantial, if not corporeal, and she dances at the edge of his sight. You're so close, she whispers. Free me from this place, Uldren. You've gone mad, Ilyn says with repulsive empathy. I almost did too when I knew she'd gone. Why did you travel with that thing? What have you come to do? I've come to finish it, Uldren tells her. He even tries to smile because he's being honest. He's telling the truth. I've realized I was a fool to try to surprise her. We all exist through her design, Ilyn. We all act only by her consent. I'm going to save her because she needs me to save her. When she needs me to die, I will die. And when she has completed her great design for the Awoken will die too. It is the reward we so richly deserve, for we owe everything to Mara. It would be wrong for us to outlive our purpose. Trust me, life without her is worse than... He chokes on it. He can't describe it. At the edge of sight, Mara watches him with all the heartbroken concern and tender care he has always wanted from her. That evening, he surrenders himself to the reef. Free, Part 2. They take him in with the full strike team, and one of the snipers joining Uldren and his jailers at the extraction point looks him full in the eyes, like he's asking a question. A tall man with a long rifle, narrow, intelligent eyes, handsome. Is he? Did Uldren want something from him once? Something important? Uldren absently rubs his eyes as he stares at him. He frowns, but he can't figure it out. They take him to a discreet landing dock on one of the lower levels of the Prison of Elders. When his containment unit hisses open, the glow and the mist silhouette with an exo of glowing blue eyes and a woman with her weapon drawn, Petra herself. She stands there in silence. He knows she wants to kill him. He knows she wishes him to say, "You've done well." She speaks to you. Her words are curt and direct. What does she say? Aldrin closes his eyes and lets Mara's voice wash through him. He is here in the heart of Petra's strength, in the prison she has so carefully tended, as everything else falls apart. He is weak and he is bound. These are the strengths his sister never possessed, the endurance of humiliation, survival of defeat. She says. He lifts his head to meet her gaze and watches her flinch. She holds him in her weapon's sight as she withdraws, step by careful step. The Exo steps forward to hood him with a black bag. She says, "Free me." So that is the Forsaken Prince. Gives a little bit of backstory on how Aldrin ended up in the Prison of Elders. So, we got some new lore books here with the new DLC. So, not sure which one I'm going to get first. We'll figure it out as it goes. So, I hope you guys enjoyed that. I'll see you guys in the next one.